You can get everything you ever wanted and still wake up on a Tuesday wondering why none of it feels like enough. Like I've watched it happen to good people. The promotion comes, the house closes, the kid gets into school, the number in the bank account finally hits that number you used to only dream about. And then some quiet morning, a few weeks later, when you're standing in the kitchen with your coffee in hand, and a thought sneaks up behind you and taps you on the shoulder. Is this it? I'm not talking about a breakdown, just a question that you're a little embarrassed to still be asking. That gap has a shape. I used to think you closed it by adding more proof, more padding, more figures in the account. And then someone who'd added all of it told me the gap doesn't close from the outside, and he'd know. He tried to fill it the hardest way there is. His name is Ryan. Listen to how he says it.
And you just wake up one day and you realize, I am that person. I'm that person that chose a drug over reality because reality was too uncomfortable or too much anxiety or depression.
That's my son. And before you decide that this story is about pills, it isn't. Most of us never touch the hard stuff. We close the gap with quieter things. A bigger number, bigger title, being right, staying busy enough that we never have to feel it. Ryan just went the most honest way a person can. Head on, all the way to the bottom. And he climbed back out with something I think you need to hear. So here's the question I actually want to sit in today. Not how do I finally get the big thing? Older than that and harder. What makes a life worth living? Not in a book, not in a theory. On a Tuesday when you're sick, when the dog peed on the floor, when the car won't start. And the big thing is nowhere in sight. What holds you up then? I asked Ryan. And here's that conversation. Well, welcome, Grace and Grit fans. We are here today doing an interview and welcome my son Ryan to the set today. Welcome, Ryan. Glad to have you with us today. And I do want to kind of say that up front because I think it is super important to own that because this makes it kind of unique. And so because of that, as I was doing this series, I thought there's not a better person I want to interview than Ryan. So yes, he's my son, but because of that, I know his story. And because he's my son, the questions aren't going to be that easy. Deal?
Deal.
Okay, good. All right, well, let's just start at the very beginning. Tell me about the moment that you realized you wanted to do something different than what was expected of you to do.
I was fully planning on, after college, going and getting my master's in counseling and then going to do, therapy for children was kind of my main interest. So trauma with children from their families and helping them navigate life and not go down a path that we would usually see someone with trauma go down that's untouched. And so, it's senior year. I've been married to Tori now for over a year almost at that point. And I'm looking at my options. Now, we had previously already wanted to move to Florida. And so knowing that with a bachelor's in psychology and social work, you can't really get any job. You have to go get a master's.
And maybe expand on that just quickly a little bit. What are you supposed to do with a psychology degree?
So that's kind of the roadblock is there's so many avenues you can go if you continue education after a bachelor's. But with a bachelor's in psychology, and some people might disagree with this, there's really nothing that you can do. And at that point, student loans are starting to come in. We have our wedding, we're paying that off, we're wanting to save for a house. And so it really all, that dream kind of came crashing down where reality hit. And it was, okay, Tori's going to have to work all by herself and I'm going to have to go to school, or am I going to try and do like part-time school and drag this thing out? And so it was a hard decision, but at the end of the day, I knew that moving to Florida, I wanted to have a solid career and job already when we moved down there and not try to fumble and figure it out once we got there. And so I started looking for remote work, and it was really crazy how it all happened. Tori and I had been praying that, I would be able to find something that would support both of us, that would be flexible and we could move and maybe online. And we had never done anything remote before. And so I had a buddy that I hadn't talked to in a while reach out to me, and he's like, hey, have you ever heard of life insurance before? Do you want to do life insurance? And I looked it up, and instantly, I maybe said some choice words to him, but I instantly was like, this is a pyramid scheme. Have you ever, heard of an MLM or a pyramid scheme before? But thankfully, I didn't let that negative mindset just stop me there, and I did some more research, and I talked to the people that were offering it to me. And almost 8-9 months later, I'm very glad that I chose to do that, because it gives me the flexibility to work from anywhere, make the amount of money that helps pay for, our loan payments, save up for a house, make that move to Florida. And eventually, Tori and I want to have her be a stay-at-home mom when we have kids. And it looks like that's going to be possible with this job. So during that time, though, Tori had been praying on her own at work. And the day that my buddy called me and said, hey, try this life insurance thing, she hadn't told me. She was at work and said that for the first time, she had just become overwhelmed with what we now know was just the Holy Spirit. It was, conveying her to just pray and really feel that it was going to be okay, because there was a lot of uncertainty. And that same day I got the call, she had been praying at work, breaking down in tears, and it just all kind of came together. And we had been praying for it, God answered.
So when we're trying to make a decision and we're not sure if it's the right decision, we can kind of put on a mask. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but we can kind of put on the mask of I'm okay, and that this is okay. And I think there is some truth to repeat that to yourself, try to live that, try to be what you want, and you can kind of move better in that direction. It's like a mindset you kind of put on. But then there's also the other side of that, the negative side of that is kind of a wall, a false wall, a partition that we kind of put up so that we don't let others into a space, because what's on the other side of that mask or the other side of that partition is some pretty sensitive stuff, which gets into our own heads of am I right? Am I wrong? All the places where you're jumbling, but there's few people in your life that you can let into that play in that playground.
That's kind of the pit that I fell into, was the numbing, where, okay, if I can't feel happy, but I don't want to feel these negative things, I'll just find somewhere in the middle where I'm just numb, so you don't feel anything. And that was a very dangerous road to go on, because there's lots of things you can, numb yourself with, but at the end of the day, it's another slow change where you don't really notice it. It's in the background, but it is destroying your life. And I'm so blessed to have the wife that I have, because if I was her, I would have left me too. There was a point where I was taking these pretty much gas station pills, getting them from what do you call them, a smoke shop or some shady gas station. And at first, it feels good and you don't think that it's a big problem. And then eventually you get to a point where you're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't have any desires, goals. I don't have any ambition to do hard things anymore. And so I had completely lost myself as a slow progression. It's the complete opposite of James Clear, 1% better every day. It was 1% worse every day. And you just wake up one day and you realize, I am that person. I'm that person that chose a drug over reality, because reality was too uncomfortable or too much anxiety or depression. And then you have all the shame and guilt associated with that. And if you don't have people in your corner, and I had done, just isolate myself, the shame and guilt of that alone, coming to someone and saying, I have this issue, I need help, was almost harder than to just stop taking the pill in the first place. And so, I mean, it is something you always have to be aware of. And I really, again, going back to my wife, Tori, I mean, she was my number one supporter, obviously, as my wife. We are supposed to be one flesh. And so she could tell right away something was wrong. And if I wasn't honest with her, that's where I think our marriage could have really taken a downturn. But she is just so, I mean, gracious and amazing that she was able to see through the bad habit and see someone, her hurting husband on the other side, and decided, okay, I need to help him instead of get upset at him, right? He's already feeling shame and guilt about this. How can I help? And so it was not an easy process to stop taking those pills. And the conversation of addiction, I mean, if you're drinking, you're taking drugs, you're addicted to sex, you're addicted to video games, you're like all these different things you could be addicted to. There's something underlying it that's causing you to use that device as an escape. And so if you're an alcoholic and you're sober for 3 years, but then you're going to the gym 3 times a day and you're running Ironmans and ultra marathons, that's great because that's good for your body. But you didn't fix the actual broken part of you, right? You just replaced it. And so I think that's a big misunderstanding when it comes to addiction is the thing you're using, alcohol or pills, that's not the problem. That's the solution to your problem. So once you can figure out what the problem is, like why am I using this thing to numb or to feel good or to avoid this certain feeling, that's one of the rules I have for Tori, for myself with Tori, is it's my rule of 3. So every day there's 3 things that I have to do for Tori. And one of them is just make her laugh, right? I try to make her laugh, be a funny guy. The second one is do something that makes her life easier. Whether that's as simple as, bring her lunch at work. She needs to, get this project done. I'm going to clean the house for her. I'm going to take her car to get this thing done. Just a little act of love and kindness to make her life easier. And then the third one is make her feel special or make her feel loved. And I think those are 3 rules that I did genuinely just kind of make up on my own because it reflected what I wanted, right? I want someone when I'm with them to, make me laugh, make me enjoy the time I'm with them, make me feel special, make me feel loved, and then do something kind for me, make my life easier. And that's something that after a while it becomes a habit, and it now is something I don't even think about. I'm doing it every day, but I really believe that's one of the main things that has kept Tori in this feeling and understanding that I really do love her because she sees me putting in effort every day. Like unspoken expectations leads to premeditated resentment. So if Tori is expecting, she's out of town right now, she's expecting that I clean the house and she doesn't address that to me. She just thinks I should know that. And she comes home and the house isn't clean. There's a little resentment that she's going to have. But she never spoke that out loud to me. So that's not fair to me. But same goes for anything that I'm expecting of her. If I'm not communicating that and then she's not following through, now I feel resentment. And so it's very easy to go down that path and to fail each other in a sense where you're not meeting the expectations. But if the expectations aren't put out there, aren't spoken, you're always going to fail them. You're always going to come short.
Are you happy? Now, as I ask that question, maybe 2 ways to respond. What does that look like on a Tuesday? Like your happiness. And secondly, can you be more happy?
I am happy.
Okay. What's that look like on a Tuesday?
On a Tuesday, it's another thing where it's so simple, but it is It's not easy. And I keep saying that because it's something I'm really trying to understand, because you have to remind yourself of it. But happiness, just like love can be a feeling, but it also requires effort, and you have to choose to love someone. Happiness is absolutely a result of what you're putting into your body, what you're surrounding yourself with, but I do believe that it is a choice. And so on a Tuesday, I wake up with a sore throat and a fever, and I still got to go to work, and the dogs peed in the kitchen, and the car battery's dead, and I got to jump the car, and on the way to work, you get pulled over for speeding, and you forget your lunch at home, and your card declines, and you get bill and your email, and then yada yada, and all these things happen. And if I just let those things happen to me and choose today's a bad day,
It sounds like a bad day.
then today's a bad day. But it is like I had said before, being present. And being present doesn't mean you're just, I'm present. Like you have to actually look at your situation, look at your day, and choose what to be grateful for. And that starts with the very first thing you do when you wake up. And so I don't do this every day. I would like to. But writing down, 3 or 5 things that you're grateful for in the morning is, they've proven this scientifically, but just in your own life, if you try it, you will realize that by starting your day, not on the toilet on your phone, but writing down physically 3 or 5 things that you're actually grateful for. And it could be the same things every day, right? If you only have 5 things to be grateful for, same 5 things. That is going to drastically change your entire day of how you view yourself in the world, how you view the things that are happening to you. And so it's the perspective of happiness that I think makes people happy or unhappy. And so, you look at somebody in a third world country would literally kill to have your worst day. Your worst day would be their best day. Now, obviously, we can't switch places, actually, but knowing that there is someone out there that on my worst day would do anything in their power to have my life really makes me step back and appreciate the small things that I have.
You can go to the happiest place on earth, Disneyland, and some kid is having a colossal meltdown.
Yeah.
And they'd been excited for 6 months to go to Disneyland. They finally showed up, and their ice cream hit the ground, and now they're having this giant meltdown. You're like, hey, you're in Disneyland. But you can find something to be upset about in Disneyland. At the same point, someone that starts to understand that I get to choose. Like I can look at a dropped ice cream, and I can instead laugh about that because, well, first of all, I can just go get another ice cream. But secondly, it's hilarious, like however this happened. This is going to be the memory that we're going to have. The memories we have of events in our lives, especially ones that are good memories, if you think about them, a lot of them are because something went wrong. Mm-hmm. And there's something that was funny that happened with that. And on the other side of it, you're able to laugh a little easier.
Right.
But once you start to get that perspective, I think you can also start to, get up in the morning and say, I missed my alarm. Well, I got an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah.
The dog peed on the floor. I'm thankful I have linoleum. I'm thankful I have a dog.
Yeah.
And then your car doesn't start because the battery's dead. You're like, I'm thankful I can buy another battery. I'm thankful I have a car. All this. You get pulled over. I don't want to get pulled over for a ticket, but I'm glad we have police that are making sure these streets are safe. You can just perspective these things, yep. And you can see the good in all the bad things that are happening, and not to be fake.
Right. Yeah. You don't want
to. But you also you have to make a choice on how you think about something. You've been through some really difficult moments, more than you deserve. Whatever that means in life. How has that shaped you? How has that, people can go, I think sometimes people can go through difficult moments in life, and somehow that difficult moment, just on the other side of it, is a Y in the road. Mm-hmm. And you can choose to become the thing that was horrible, or you can choose to become better as a result. How have you done this?
Yeah, I think the narrative of, the underdog of the story just gets beaten down, and then eventually one day, like, it all works out for him and he's the hero of the day. I would not change a single thing that's happened to me, because I wouldn't be who I am or where I am today. Which, with some of the stuff that's happened to me, like, that's kind of messed up to say, but at the end of the day, it is true. Right? I wouldn't want to be anyone else except who I am. And so, with a lot of the things that have happened, there's been, I've been sexually abused, I've been emotionally abused, and you can say abused, right? There's a lot of different understandings of that word, but I think every single person, what I've learned, has trauma. Like, there's not a single person that doesn't. And what we can't do is compare traumas, right? Like, they've done studies where they have two twins, and one of them is loved and nurtured by the family, and the other is kind of forgotten about and not really touched. And the kids grow up to be vastly different. They also do the same study, and the kids grow up to be very similar. So I think we can try to put labels on and prove that we know, what events and traumas will make a certain person, like a serial killer or a president or a celebrity. Like, well, we know when this happens, when there's no mother involved, then the son becomes this type of person. Humans are very complex and intricately detailed, beings that we can't predict and we can't define all the time. And so one group of people chooses to let that thing define them, let them be, as one of my mentors says, damaged goods. And everything they go through life, they view themselves as these damaged, goods that's broken. And of course I did this because this happened to me. And so that explains it. And it does become this victim mentality where instead of growing and becoming a stronger person, a more well-rounded person that can help others who've been through that thing, you just decide, I'm going to just sit here and let life, punch me in the face again, because that's all I've experienced. That's all I can do. But then you have the other group of people who decide, this thing happened to me and it sucks and I wish it didn't happen, but I'm going to choose to become stronger because of this. And I don't know what stronger means. I don't know what stronger looks like or feels like, but it's just like with choosing to view the positive or the negative. It's a choice. And it's a small choice every single day, but that 1 degree change leads to 2 completely different paths. And they know that this bad thing happened to me and I can become better for it, or I can let it define me. It's just making that choice. And it's in not making a choice, like being a bystander or by letting yourself be a victim, by not making a choice or not taking action. That is an action. You are choosing still to do that.
Okay. What I want you to do now is I want you to visualize somebody. Because through that lens is a group of guys that are watching this. My audience, 95% male. And they clicked on this podcast because there's something about happiness that they are trying to find. And maybe they're not interested in anyone knowing they clicked on this podcast, but they're watching it. And they're listening to your story. And I've got to think that in your story, they're feeling some inspiration, some sense of like, no matter what I've gone through, no matter what I'm in front of right now, I can find happiness. Package this for them in a concise few moments and tell them what they should do next.
It's a lot of pressure. Well, I don't think it is up to me to tell you what to do with your life. I can share my experiences. I can share what I've learned. And my story is probably one you may have heard before. Maybe not in a setting like this on a podcast between a father and son, but I can, with certainty, at least tell you that at the end of the day being a figurative time, you have one thing that you can control in your entire life. There is only one thing that you can control. And as men, we like to fight for control in every area of our life. And that one thing that you can control is your attitude. And that sounds cliche, maybe you've never heard that. What that means is every moment you go through in life, getting married, breaking up, a parent passing away, a job that you applied for you didn't get, you got fired, you got a bunch of money, you didn't get a bunch of money, like everything in life, positive and negative, you're going to go through it no matter what. You will experience it. And you get to choose your attitude towards that, during that, and after that experience or event happened. And that is a very powerful thing that you get control of, because nobody can take that away from you.
All right, last question. Are you good? And I mean, actually.
No.
Okay.
I'm definitely a believer that we are born into this world with sin, and that our natural tendency is to sin, which is the opposite of good. But going back to what I had said, you get to choose whether you are good or not. So while I can choose to be good, I can choose to be, give service to people, I can choose to really put others first, because that's a choice I'm doing, and it's not just a natural, tendency for people to do. It's something you have to put effort into. That's why I believe we are not naturally good. But through our faith in Jesus, that is where we're redeemed, where we are now good, because he is perfect. We are not perfect. And I guess that's really what I mean by good, is perfect. But we can have the ability to try to be every day. And that's all it is. It's just trying to do good, trying to do a little bit better than you did yesterday in your relationships, in your own personal, mental health and physical health. It's not a big change. It's not like the movies where it's a 90-second montage and everything's fixed. It's slow, it's ugly. Lots of days you wonder if it's working or not, if you're making progress. But as long as that is at the front of your mind, that I'm choosing in every action I do, every thought I have, to be good, we can get a little bit closer to being good. So that's it.
Good. Well, we're going to continue the podcast now. I'm going to let Ryan go. I'm going to rattle through this a little in my brain. I'll be right back with you with a few final thoughts. Thanks for joining us for the interview. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
So that's my son. I have known him his whole life, and I still learn something sitting across from him today. And here's the thing I can't stop turning over. He's been to a place I think a lot of people are standing in right now. That flat, numb place where you're not really happy and you're not really anything. You've just figured out how to stop feeling it. And he didn't climb out of it by getting the big thing that he was missing. He climbed out by choosing small, ugly, 1-degree choices on the days that he wasn't even sure it was working. That's the whole answer to the question that we started with. What makes a life worth living isn't the thing that you're waiting to arrive. It's what you decide to do with the Tuesday you already have. And I'll tell you where I land on that, because I kind of held back on this the whole time on purpose. every single thing that Ryan described, the choosing, the gratitude, the refusal to be a victim, I believe there's a floor underneath all of it. And he said it himself at the end. He said, I'm not good on my own, and neither am I. And the reason that I can keep choosing on the bad days isn't that I'm strong. It's that I'm not the one holding the floor up. As his dad, I had a front row seat to everything he just said. I didn't even think he'd say all of what he did. But that's Ryan. He really is living what he told you today. And his life is better for it. I am proud of him. You came in today asking, what makes a life worth living? You didn't get a formula for me today. You got a witness, a man who had lost himself and chose his way back, and an invitation for you to do the same. If you're walking out even 1 degree lighter than you came into this, that's the whole thing. Think clearly and live faithfully. There are hard things all around us, and the question isn't, will it get to me, but what will I become because of it? Let's navigate this together with grace and grit and come out hopeful. Grace with grit. I'll see you on the next one.